Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another round of sound. It's the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. We don't have a lot of time these days, so I'm going to get right to the panel and we'll mix it all up. Beginning with, from left to right, Chris Mueller. He is from the PM team, 93.7 The Fan. In the middle, it's Jason Mackey. Does a great job covering the Pirates for the Post-Gazette. And to his left, it would be Andrew Fillipponi. We have PM surrounded.
It's a rose between two thorns, Bob.
Or a valley of humility between two mountains of conceit. However you choose to look at it.
How long were you working on that one before the show today, huh?
All right,
that one didn't come off the old cuff here.
No, I didn't know you were going to go there, so I brought it into play. All right, Andrew, I want to talk to you first and foremost. Here, we'll start with you about, we've never seen this before. We've never seen a team that's about 500 lose back-to-back games to teams that are 2-10. It happened this week in a 5-day span. What is the state of the Steelers currently? They have a wild card position still locked up for now. What is it?
I'm still not over what happened on Thursday, by the way. I don't know if
I can tell you have a little
I'm
down
so
part of
I think that it's a downtrodden state for them. The record says that they're a winning team. The playoff picture says they're in it. But I don't think anybody on this panel is going to say they're legitimately a good team.
Oh, God.
And that they are trending in the right direction. They're neither of those things. And I actually think it gets exacerbated by what I watched today. I got to see Joe Flacco go out and throw 300-plus yards and 3 touchdowns when the guy was eating pretzels and popcorn a month ago.
He probably still is.
Yeah. So I think it's really bad, Bob, and I'm hoping that this triggers something in them to do something substantial when the season ends.
I'm with Andrew. I was watching football today and just getting depressed, man. I mean, why wouldn't they finish last in the division? Are they any conceivable threat right now? Winning record, I don't care. Like, the Bengals have somehow developed momentum with, what's his name, Jake Browning?
Yeah, he looks like the best quarterback in the game right now.
34 points today.
Scheme matters.
Okay, and we're looking at Joe Flacco and Jake Browning have now bypassed the Steelers, both quarterback play and offensive scheme. It's just depressing. Like, the team I cover, people look at them and say, why can other teams have things, but they don't work here? I sort of look at the Steelers that same way. Other teams can have quarterback play and offense. Why doesn't it work here?
They're frauds. There's a word for what they are. 7-6, negative point differential. Clearly, they don't pass any eye test whatsoever. They're frauds with an antiquated way of looking at football, with an antiquated way of building a team, drafting running backs in the first round, talking about hidden yardage, getting a kid at Pitt and Kenny Pickett because on some level it's been admitted you were afraid of missing on the next Dan Marino when anybody, even his most ardent backer, could tell you he wasn't going to be that guy. They want to win with conservative offense and defense. Who does that? Who does it to a big effect in today's NFL? Defense complements offense. They're frauds, and they're way behind the times.
And the thing is, we saw all 3 division teams win today. All of them scored over 30 points, and all of them got good quarterback play. This is a topic that will happen at the end of the season, Pony. It'll be about what happens to the Steeler coaching staff, specific to Mike Tomlin and his staff. And I know there's time for everything to change. There's time for things to get better offensively. I don't necessarily see that happening. But if they don't, what do you think will happen? What do you think should happen? You can answer both.
What I think should happen is they should move on. I mean, that's 17 years is a long time. I mean, there's only 4 other coaches in the modern era that spent more time with their football team than Tomlin. And those other guys won way more championships than he did. Bill Belichick, Chuck Noll, Tom Landry, Don Shula, guys like that. I mean, that's the kind of rare air he keeps, the elite company he keeps.
What will happen?
What will happen? So I think he's back.
Yeah.
But
with an extension?
But that is the complicating part of this, because I don't see how, with the current state of the team, the owner gives him more years and more.
How about 1 year? How about 1 extra year to make it a 2-year deal?
That's the only way, because if he's back with no extension, I just don't see a way where there's 1 year and he's a lame duck and he comes back here. So it either has to be he gets something out of them, even if it's a 1-year kind of thing, or I'm not giving you a raise, at which point Tomlin could balk at that, or he's gone. Like, I don't think there's a middle ground here. I don't think there can be, or else you're just shooting your franchise in the foot again with a lame duck coach. He's not going to want to do that.
I don't understand how you could extend him at this point.
You can't.
Like, how can you go after the
unless
season
you fetishize
based on
it? Unless you fetishize the idea that, hey, we're the organization that doesn't change coaches, basically, for any reason, you can't
then that's
extend them.
complete insanity. It
But
literally
an
is the
extension of
definition
1
of
year
insanity
buys
to do
them
that.
1 more year, and if the demands are you change your coaching staff, okay, and maybe somebody else has say about who comes in here. You know what I mean? I mean, if that's workable, if
So
not,
we're stripping
Yeah,
power away from him. We're taking.
well, what do you think's already happened? I mean,
But
he's
now
changed
we're
offensive
formally stripping
coordinators.
power while simultaneously
change-
extending him. That
I'm
doesn't
just- I'm
make
just-
sense.
I'm
Like
just
if you want to
pointing
clean
that out.
if you want a clean house, I don't have anything against that. I agree with Andrew. I think it's probably time. 17 years is a long time. It's just, wouldn't you like to see the guy on top, like, make those hires?
A move
Let's just
like
do a clean
that,
break
a
with
move
everything.
like that would be akin to what they did by bringing Canada back. It's like you're paralyzed to make a bold move, so you try to find something in the middle that I don't really think accomplishes much. You're saying we want to keep you around because we're afraid to fire a coach because we haven't done it since the 1960s, but at the same time we're unhappy with your overall coaching job. So let's dictate to you who your coaches are. I mean,
So you're saying, for the record, you think he'll be around for more?
yes.
Okay, and you, Jason?
Yes, I do.
For how
I don't
long?
agree. At least another year. I think they'll probably extend him. I just don't like it.
Yeah, I'd like to be different because this is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, but no, he'll be back. And
Bob,
what
do
I
you
want to
feel
know
differently?
Well, he'll be
I
back.
feel like-
the question is his new coordinator? Is it going to be a new quarterback too?
Is it a foregone
Well,
conclusion, by the way,
I
that
don't
he's
think you
just
can
going to be
make that.
back as a lame duck? Like,
No.
No, just
one of the
we're
things I don't
figuring that he'll
understand
be
is why-
back. Period. What I want to know is
yeah,
what
I
happens
mean,
if they.
I'm okay with that, but like,
What I
why
want
do
to
we
know
have
is
to
this.
extend him?
Okay, what I want to know is this: what happens if they lose out and lose ugly? Because it's very possible that they. Can
He
do that.
won't be a lame duck coach because if they don't give him an extension, that distracts the team the entire year. And they would hate that.
And so they would lose more games.
They just would
I don't
not
know
want to
about
do it.
that, but but the Steelers don't want for an entire year there to be a discussion after every game. Well, did he coach well
Then
enough?
play better. Then coach better.
That
You
only
don't want it to
happens
be
in a lame.
discussion.
That only happens. The point is in a lame duck year. What I want to know is if they lose out, and I think that's plausible, right? Like the Colts suddenly got
3
more
of the 4
beatable
on the
today,
road.
but then the Bengals got way less beatable. If they lose out and go 7-10, now what? You're Art Rooney. You're giving the guy an extension, finishing the season on a 6-game losing streak. Are you
absolutely
kidding
right.
me?
There's a lot
you
of
want to talk
football
about
left.
bad optics? That would be atrocious optics.
And that would lead them to an area that I don't think they want to get to, but you never know how this is going to go. And, we're going to talk about Kenny Pickett because a lot of everyone on this panel and others have thought this would be a big year for him. Evaluate him. What do you have? Can you really do that knowing now that the offensive coordinator is gone? We'll talk about that and more as we continue. It's the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown right here on KDKA.
#1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by #1 Cochran. Go one better.